Welcome to this Akashic Records Open Talk. It's an honor to be here in the Avalon Hall in Bliss Therapy Keskus. Thank you for bringing yourself, for following the call, and for whoever is watching in the future as well. Thank you for being here. This talk may activate some things, some memories, so sometimes not trying to understand with the mind helps, because we remember with other parts, with our heart, with our soul. I will share some experiences, some patterns through my navigation in the Akashic Records, some possibilities and considerations to improve our conscious channeling and to approach into an Akashic Records reading properly. Anybody is familiar with Akashic Records? I want to see where we are. Good. So I will consider that for persons who have experience, who have had readings or have channeled Akashic Records. So I will start with something that happened yesterday. Many things happened yesterday. I just arrived yesterday with jet lag. I still navigating the synchronicity. Yesterday, a person told me, yes, one time I was in the records where I saw all these infinite possibilities and I did not know what to do. It was overwhelming. And that's a problem. Connecting when you are not ready or not capable of being functional to download the information that is good for your life, that can be overwhelming. Those experiences happen when people do it through plant medicine. Anybody has done plant medicine? There's a thing with the plant medicine and the responsibility of being a channeler, and why the lineage I come from, they do it initiatically. We mainly keep clean from any influence because there's a hygiene we have to upkeep in our energy body. And when we are in a space with other fields, with other souls opening up, and there are things that who knows what's in there. We get a lot of contagion of astral entities, parasites, beings in between. Yes, you are like recognizing there are those things, and sometimes it can get very messy. Sometimes these entities that are transferred can generate distortions, as it was happening to this lady yesterday. She said, okay, I feel overwhelmed and I have a journey and I see lights and stuff and like psychedelics, but there was nothing useful for my life. That happens a lot. And Carl Jung said that nobody got enlightened observing light figures. Have you heard that? I study a lot of psychology because we have to understand very well the psyche. The mind plays tricks and we have to really understand how the mind works, the tricks it can play us, the hermetic laws. We have to understand all the initiatic ways to do things properly, especially when there are so much psychedelics and addictions disguised as shamanic woo-woo things that they have a good marketing. We are in an epidemic of dealers disguised as shamans providing substances and working for entities. That's how I see it. You see them partially possessed. It's true, but any substance can, like alcohol can possess you. There are like the screens, there are a lot of things that can mediate entities inside of us. So the level of awareness and presence that involves to keep clean from entities, and it's not just to block, like being paranoid, because we have to learn to clear ourselves. That's the thing. We have resilience. At the same time, we don't need that extra timing and energy consumption to clear when we can easily prevent it. Make sense? That's why we have this code of clarity in our lineage. We have to keep clean inside and outside. So it's this part of the outside to not get blurred, to not get dirty in the transparency where we can see this information. And inside, because sometimes we can be moved from inside thinking it's us. When we are like really taken, we think it's us. It speaks with the same voice. We just do it subconsciously. And there are a lot of patterns driving us. That's why this involves the highest personal awareness and development. Make sense? In my personal story, I changed a lot. I was 105 kilos, arthritis, psoriasis, depression, addictions to video games, to party, to alcohol, to trash food. So when I did the initiation in Akashic Records, this changed my life because I committed to something higher. Now, when I'm offered like some alcohol or party, it's like doesn't resound anymore. There's nothing I would sacrifice the clarity, the peace, the bliss I can bring for the persons. There's nothing worth it to sacrifice it. The clarity, like yesterday I had a person, okay, can you open my records please tomorrow? And yes, I can, because I keep my channel the best possible. Clean, clear, and even with your thoughts. You establish a relationship. So all relationships have to be supporting you. There's one thing that I learned from getting out of addictions, that is, when you cannot say no, that's an addiction. When you cannot say no, that's the line. You realize that you could not say no. Be the excuse that is, because I don't want to get the judgment of my family or my friends when I go out, that I said, you cannot say no. You're like you're kidnapped by it. So it feels so much freedom when you can say no. That's why in our lineage we also have the code of correspondence. We have a higher standard of what we allow inside, as who is allowing us to talk to us, and who we are going to open records for, or even initiation. It's very tempting to open records and be in this position of channeling and getting access to the library of the universal knowledge. It's very tempting, especially for the ego and the demons that we may be carrying. Super tempting, because they're going to be using this authority and power. And I tell you by personal experience that I got cut off the records in the initiation. When I did it, they showed me when I was doing it wrongly and why they cut me off for many lives that I could not access properly. And that's why I have like this judgment, this discernment of when a shaman is abusing their power of, follow this because it's the word of God, it's the plant, or they are telling us. That is a device that many people have used to control groups. And they show me that I did that before. Okay, remember that we cut you out because of this. So it's very humbling to know that you have to always ask the correspondence, even with information that is coming through. I have many stories of witches being burned because of telling things that nobody asked them. Nobody asked them. And they're just, because I saw that. It's like, nobody asked you. It's a very important limit and line to not give unsolicited advice. Who didn't ask you for advice, you're generating karma if you're telling them that you saw them and you're putting things in their psyche. That's one of the lessons I have seen in all the witches of our lineage, of the past life integrations I do. And that's a lesson I wanted to bring for whoever wants to do and use this of channeling. That's a thing you have to take care. And that can be the same blockage that many of you had, because a lot of persons that came to the initiation of the Akashic Records were blocked because of the trauma of the soul, because of using their divine gift, they had a lot of pain, so they blocked it. Can you relate to that? Yes. So there are some things that have been happening, and we are liberating ourselves, and we are getting more access to the knowledge as long as we learn about these divine laws, because it's very fair. Whenever we are complaining, oh, I'm not connecting, I don't see my guides, or they don't talk to me, or God isn't fair, and why this accident happened, we have to recognize we are the ones doing something wrong. Full accountability. That's why it's personal work. There are patterns inside of us that we can be complaining and victim mode and all the stuff, and life won't help us. So when we understand the rules, life gets easy, more flow. We talked about the hygiene, that is very important, the clarity inside and outside. Yes, it's a 24/7 work. That's why sometimes I see channelers that it's like, okay, I just work in the morning or like in the afternoon, and then in the night I just do party, drugs, and like unconscious sex. And it's like, you cannot dissociate who you are and how it will affect what you do all the time. Like if you took alcohol or you are with someone that is not aligned, that is putting in risk all the channel for who knows when, and like even plants. I see how it generates fissures in our auric field, and those are the cracks where the entities, the demons come through. I know it's a high standard, but it's worth it. It's worth it. I don't get sick. I just get synchronicity one after another. Like I feel content and guided all the time. Like the universe is holding me. It's worth it. That's why I am so committed to this, because I see how the life of the persons I serve as well improve when they listen. So it's very humbling, and that's why I consider this is a sacred work. The oracle was a sacred job. It was a commitment. It was not just picking up cards when we're taking a wine, and it's fun, but it's entertainment. It's like if you do an accountability check of how these decisions are guiding my life, and do a real honest assessment, you will realize there's a better way. There's a higher standard for decision making. And so that's the framework that changes. Talking about these fishers that came, a great experience to travel to Egypt and rent the pyramid. Well, you can rent the pyramid. Usually we don't say that openly, but yes, now when you do tours, you can rent the pyramid. It's very intense to go into an ancient pyramid in the king's chamber, and all dressed in white, like there are things that if you're not responsible of which entities you are allowed to come and the people are not prepared, there can be sacrificial lambs. There's a lot of things, well-intentioned, fun, shiny stuff that people get consumed, and you feel them, their energy is drained, they're like eaten in a way. So I had 5 students of mine that went in there, and we were the only ones protected, because I gave them things to protect when the dark entities came, and most people didn't realize. First of all, this thing of the clothes, when you see like people all white, it has a function. It doesn't mean that white is good and dark is bad. If you see in the cities, most people are dressed in black colors, in dark colors. Have you realized that? That's because you're putting a barrier for things not to come into you. You are not calling in stuff. And that's okay. It's an intuitive defense mechanism. And when we are white, we are opening for things to come, like a blank canvas. So why bad things happen to light workers and all that stuff? It's super tempting for these dark entities, demons, and that makes it very intense, the light work. Who had it harder since, or more challenging since your awakening? Who feels that didn't have any awakening yet? The state of awakening, there are many levels. There's a lot of people that feel that they realize something and they feel awakened. There are many stages, degrees, there are many layers that we just realize, we just see or expand our awareness. He can be awakened and go to sleep again, so it's like waking up and sleeping. So to remove the charge or the weight of being awakened, you will feel in the eyes when the person is playing the game, the divine game. That's what I like to think more than the states that can be coming and going, awakening or asleep. Because in there can be a lot of judgment in a sense of the spiritual ego. The spiritual ego, especially in these environments, in spirituality, in the New Age, the ego keeps having those dynamics of the asleep people, the sheeple, the matrix people. There's like that thing of feeling superior because of you just realize something, and it's not about just raising your vibration. It's about equalizing, tuning in to the vibration you need to be in each moment. That's more divine. Make sense? How you're like, that insight. When we are more open, like being more wide, being more awake, being in a higher vibration, more sensitive, we're going to have more intensity in our lives. There's a lot of persons that get the Akashic Records initiation to learn to close. I had a very hard time because of being so open and awake. Because like my family was like helpless. I was starting to talk with the plants, with the tree, with the stones. That can be maddening when you cannot filter, control, organize the conversations. That can be, many people lose their minds. We learn to close the records to preserve your energy, to preserve the bandwidth of your channel. Otherwise, we can be fried. And that's when people freak out, their nerves start being affected by being so awakened. And then they go to sleep again. Who has some bounces after awakening and then going back to drinking or eating whatever? That's also a natural phenomenon, but we also have to navigate it with grace. In the lineage, we do that. We learn to open and close. Sometimes I'm running and there's vortexes that I start getting some insight or more open or more sensitive. And then I have this device of knowing when my records are open. And I ask, my records are open? Yes. And then I have to close them. You get overloaded, especially when you are with the records open, more sensitive. Many persons need to learn to close. Many comes to initiation to learn to close records. That's a possibility. Other thing that happens is the subconscious patterns in their lives. With the clarity code, we work on our beliefs. This voice that we talked at the beginning is like, this sounds as me. I have always the same conclusions regarding certain stuff. Because there's deep beliefs that sometimes do not come from our conscious process. Our soul is broadcasting some pattern that we just have to go and retrieve and work on that belief that is being broadcasted. Because it's a soul experience that shapes the perception of reality, or blinds, gives us blind spots. With the records, we have to be brave to go and see the blind spots. When we have in our booklets 70, 80 questions, we can do the records, and it's like, oh, I never would have thought of asking this. It's like, I think I know, I already know it. Those certainties, we have to question them, because otherwise we get fixed knowledge. They will keep manifesting a reality in a certain way. Make sense? That's why I consider this is the ultimate personal development, because there's no escape. There's no escape to your consciousness, to divine presence that you can embody at any time. You can just put your head under the earth, but you will be affected by the things happening to you. You may be choosing to ignore them, to not see them, but they will be happening. One of the things I teach in martial arts, when I'm boxing, I see many of my sparring partners that they are scared of pain, so they don't see. They are so scared of pain that they don't see, and it makes it easier to be hit. Don't look away, because you are not going to see it coming. I prefer to eat a punch while seeing it, because I will have faster feedback. And that's how we learn. That's consciousness, by definition. The feedback that we have with the universe and the capacity of changing how we react to the conversation and what the life is throwing at us. That's consciousness, the capacity of perceiving and through the biofeedback, learning and growing. Like nature works. When you face an animal, like the animal realm, and you start running from it, you declare yourself prey. It will start chasing you. Make sense? You start running away from it, it will chase you naturally, because you declared yourself prey. Instead of facing it, keep looking at it, like not losing your ground, and you can deal with more chances. You have more chances when you face any problem in life. Those are universal laws, and we're going to learn much more about the universal laws, because it's not only in this physical reality it happens in upper realms. In many of the exorcism and demons and the things that we deal with, you have to have the same attitude and the same capacity of challenging it. Sometimes we see them with the records. You have to use your divine will, because we over-respect these entities. We lose so much power and give away so much authority to these entities from above and masters. And when you develop a relationship that they are more accessible to you, and you have the right teachers, the right guides and loved ones guiding you, you don't have like this putting in a pedestal the beings, because that's a problem. Oh, they're changing whoever and like that, and it's like they can be pretending that they're this guy, and because they show you a nice light and a nice face and some nice words, you already believe the beings. Or Jesus, that is like, have you checked if that's Jesus? Have you checked? Sometimes they are not who they say they are, and because of the over respect we have them, we don't even question. Make sense? Not all light beings are good. Those are the most tricky. You know who is also a light being? That is the most tricky of all? Lucifer. Literally, the bearer of light. So he's blinding people with lights, as we talked at the beginning. And most people are blinded by the light and the shine and distracted and entertained with light beings or light shapes. And they are numbed like flies hitting, numbing themselves. Not all light beings are good. That's why we have to challenge and have this discernment. And balance our both energies. Because as there's light and darkness, we have masculine and feminine. Sometimes when we are very feminine, very receptive, we don't have the masculine inside of us of, hey, that note, or like answer me with more clarity, more directness. You have to have that balance of being sharp but receptive and receiving while you can curate and have a boundary. Also to protect yourself, because when there are channelers that suddenly, oh, it's just coming through and I just talk it, and it's like, no, you are responsible for the things that come through you. You're not just a channel that flows through you, and no, you cannot just take away all responsibility of your avatar and bring in things that we do not know if they're beneficial. You have to have some judgment and filter. Make sense? That's why we have to have our more sharpness mind as well. Our lineage has that a lot. You will see that I speak with a lot of authority and certainty and judgment because it's useful for integrity. The New Age does not like judgment, does not like good and bad. That's how the light got inside the New Age to keep everybody blinded, blurring the lines. There's no good and bad. Yes, according to what you are going to do, there is good and bad. Otherwise, we don't have the divine will that we are given. With the records, this can happen. Many persons come and in the sessions, okay, tell me my future. Will I have this? Will this happen? It's like, this is not fortune telling. You have some decisions to make. Higher guidance and the true guidance will always respect the free will. There is free will that the persons can choose. That's why all the future timelines are potential. You have more resonance, probability into certain ones. You have some options according to where you are today, but you don't have predestination. You have a willpower to choose and to navigate your destiny. Stories of reincarnations I have seen. There are some common patterns I have seen in different Akashic records, readings, and past lives that I integrated. When people or souls come back, I mean back to the earth or come to a different time, we can not only reincarnate forward, we can also reincarnate in the past, because this dimension of the soul is timeless. That's something that's going to be fun. That's how you time travel. Anybody felt that came from the future? Okay, listen. But when you open up to that possibility that you may have come from a future, that allows you to bring in lessons and wisdom of things you have lived and you may want to prevent. Timelines that you did not like how they ended, especially for the world, we have upgraded the timeline we were. Those are very, very good news. So that can happen in our lives. That we just bring in wisdom from another times and resources. So one of the common things I have seen that reincarnators have brought is energy cultivation. The energy cultivation will always make you more resourceful to whatever you have to face. Whatever challenge you're going to have to face, learning breath work, learning how to preserve your energy, learning to have a stronger energy, to clear blockages. Those are going to be amazing tools for whatever we have in our life. One of the things we're going to do in the Healing Vortex is having some of those tools, learning some activations, mudras, breath work as well when we are laid down, for our spine, be aligned, and for the air, the spirit, to have more space inside of us. Things that reincarnators embodied to make it better. I already see it's like, oh, I can come from the future. Like, there's like, I don't want to overload the information at the moment. The important thing when we are channeling is that it's useful for our lives. That has to be practical, applicable. Otherwise, we are again seeing light shapes and being blinded by light shapes. If there's not applicable wisdom, actionables that give traction in our life is a distraction. If we are not gaining traction in our life, we are being distracted. In our lineage is checking the correspondence, if this has to come through now, and sometimes there are things that I don't have to tell. I receive things for me to understand, but I don't have to tell the person the things I see. Most people don't even ask themselves, should I tell this? They just say it because they saw it, but it can be a distraction. A lot of these entities work with distraction, just putting into focus or taking bandwidth into things that are not relevant in the now. Lastly, these codes of vulnerability in our practice as channelers give us a big commitment. You can be more responsible for, you get more powerful. Like, it gives you a lot of power. This of like being in charge of who comes through, which decisions you make, gives you the control board. Like, okay, I have this questions and these possibilities, and I just shoot and I just get percentages and possibilities, but I already check the possibilities, and I always leave open things that I may not be seeing, that may not have thought about it even. Is there something else that I have not considered here? We are doing our part of the conscious work plus opening for the things that we do not know. So we have the conscious, the known, and the unknown, and the mysteries of the universe opening up. So it's fun because we satisfy this need for certainty, that we all need to have certainty, and wonder, novelty, that we need in our lives too. If we have this fixed destination, it's boring, and otherwise there's too much chaos. So we have the proper mix of both. And as my initiatic teacher says, we enter with certainty in an uncertain terrain. That's the mindset. Okay, this is like all the knowledge from all the world and all the things that could happen, and it's so much chaos. But if we are certain of ourselves, of our connection, that we check, we maintain, we did everything on our side, no matter what challenge comes to us, we are going to always be able to deal with it. Any experience that you may have had or question you want to make? I know you're shy Estonian, so...
You have knowings that you should close them.
Yes.
How you do it?
That's what we train in the initiation. It's like a muscle. It's the code of confidence and confirmation. Most of the persons have the obstacle of lacking confidence and not trusting their mind and their instinct. So you train the muscle, and we do certain exercises to already fine-tune with confirmation. When you calibrate that, and you know that all the parts of you are with you, are on your side, you don't get mixed sensations. It's a training. That's why it's like, we want it easy, to know the certainty, but it's sharpening and honing. If you sometimes are hesitating, your intent also can be weak and not fully coming through. That has a lot of training of the willpower and the discernment of how you are, if the records are closed or not, and if you trust that you can close them. Sometimes we just do what we can with what we have. Sometimes people are overloaded, so they just go and take a drink, so they just shut down. Sometimes there's a lot of people that have a very good high, and then they just need to numb down with something because it's a lot. And they intuitively do that because they cannot sustain that energy. Make sense? That has to do more with the psychic perception, because we all have psychic capabilities that we can feel into the energy fields of others, that we know we just have a vibe of them, or like certain things that come up, because there's information in the field of everybody. But when you are recognizing that everything is talking, you just have to pay attention and listen, and you have all the information you need. Yes, we can read and see things, but I usually shut it down because otherwise it's overwhelming. Also, it's very important the correspondence. Like, does it correspond for the person to read or for me to pay attention to this? Because it's like an act of love and preservation of your energy. It's like choosing the channel of what we are seeing, what we are focusing in. So, yes, we have to be very aware of what we're choosing to see. If the person is asking and it corresponds, we do an opening and everything comes through, yeah.
Spotlight example. How have you used it in your physical realm?
Yes, and there was one experience when I opened records, and well, I have many experiences because in the training we have to open to strengthen our channel. When you just get the confirmation, it becomes like a relationship. That's why I recommend a lot journaling, that you just start this practice of talking with yourself and putting your things out. Suddenly I say, okay, I have these savings to put in there. And I started listening to a song that of my teenage times. when I was asking about where to invest. And I started listening this song of Avril Lavigne, Hot, and it was like, what? Why this song? And sometimes it comes in songs. And there was a coin that was called Hot. I get it. Is this okay? And I confirmed if it's yes. And the next day it was 20% up. So, and there was also, for example, when to come here. What was the best day to come here? And I organized my trips according to asking the records. It helps you a lot with the logistics. Everything starts aligning. Like, so there is a best way when you align, you can get in tune with the logics of the divinity. So that's on how I use them.
Thank you.
A pleasure.
Said that there are light beings that are pretending they are good.
Uh-huh.
How do you make the difference?
Well, that's a good one. You challenge them. The higher beings won't get offended. They won't get offended. They will understand that you can be a skeptic. And if they get offended and whatever, like any person, they have a personality. So that's why it's so important to understand psychology. Because those patterns are as well working in the soul level. In fact, the Greeks, that from the word psyche comes, they did not make difference between psyche, mind, and soul. It's the same thing. So that's why we have to take care a lot of our mind. You can also question them, especially one of my teachers told me, sometimes they pretend they are from the Bible, a character. So you question them or ask them about how was their experience when they were incarnated. Because a lot of teachers and masters, especially star beings and things that have never had experience on Earth, you have to give them less authority. Because they do not know how it is to be here. So, yeah, it's so nice because in your planet, your star was all amazing, but you do not know how to be embodied here. There's like knowledge, but there's no wisdom. It's very nice when you have teachers that are both, and at the same time you can upgrade with knowledge, but knowing that is sometimes related, but not specific. That's useful for dealing with beings of higher dimensions that may not have been incarnated. So they are talking from experience of other place. They are like an audience. It's like, okay, come and play and then tell me after you graduated from here how it is.
Information about Akashic lineages.
Well, I have studied 8 Akashic lineages. They are like different lines or schools of thought. The Akashic Records International. There are variations as well in the middle. And sometimes they have pure intention and they have a good base, but they distort according to who carries them. The best reference I can give you is check the person. Look at his life. That's the best thing you can do. Look at their life. Some of the ladies I have read, they have the books, they are too permissive as well, so they don't have this thing of discerning, so all light beings come and there's a lot of witchcraft there. That's why I just try to curate. I share all the books that are useful. We have like a lot of cross-matching good things. Mm-hmm. Saint Germain and Linda Howe, I have their books, or Laszlo. Edward Casey is the first one who started talking. But sometimes it gets distorted. So the best thing you can do is align to this truth. You have to check very well your intent. That's why we do initiation, because it's not a workshop. It's not a learning how to and a technique. It's like initiation. You're initiating in a new way of being. That when they did the initiation and they read the honorability codes, they were crying because they have not felt that oath of honor since the Navy SEALs. And that's what makes the difference. And because of who you are, how committed you are, how clean and knowing of these things, you can just get a very good connection, good signal, and get the best of it. That's why most of our readers and consultants are very sensitive, and that's why we have so high maintenance while we are here in this world. So,
does the lineage have a specific name?
It's the soul family, La Fam, La Familia Almica. That's to have a reference.
Okay, thank you.
A pleasure. Thank you everyone. It's amazing. Thank you everyone in the future.